Hello, friends. My name is Scott Tinkler, and I serve as Accenture's Global Utilities Lead, and I am absolutely thrilled to kick off a very special edition of the Say What podcast, a podcast devoted to exploring themes of diversity in the workplace. As you know, Accenture's utility practice serves over 400 utility and energy companies around the globe. Every day, over 10,000 Accenture employees support our clients in keeping the lights on, decarbonizing the electricity grid, and exploring new clean energy technologies. One of these technologies is nuclear energy, which is the world's most dense, reliable, and safest clean energy sources. And though nuclear has been around for decades, it is now going through a renaissance. Just a couple of months ago, the first nuclear reactor built in the US in decades, Vogtle 3, went online right outside of Atlanta, Georgia. At the same time, dozens of new advanced modular reactors are in the early stages of planning. That brings me to where I would like to introduce our special guest. I am thrilled and honored to welcome Grace Stanke. Grace is the 2023 winner of the Miss America pageant. She is a nuclear engineer from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and graduated high school at age 17 with an associate's degree equivalent. As part of her mission, Grace is also passionate about encouraging young girls to pursue educational options in STEM. Grace is a national award-winning violinist, has visited 30 of 63 national parks, and an avid water skier. Grace, thank you so much for joining us today on the Say What podcast. We're so excited to speak with you.
Hi. I am so excited to be here too. This is going to be a ton of fun and also one of the best introductions for nuclear I've ever heard. Like, let's go. All right. This is exciting.
We love it here. We love it. We're glad that you're so passionate about it. Grace, I'm going to throw it back to Michael Lagaris, who's a host of our Say What podcast, and he's going to ask you a couple questions. Michael?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Say What podcast, hosted to you live from Houston, Texas. My name is Michael Lagaris, and I am joined by my colleague and co-host, the brightest star in the city of Dallas, Mrs. Megan Rodriguez.
Hey, Mike. Happy to be here with everyone on the call. Very excited for today's topic. Very close to my heart, and you'll find out soon why.
Well, I think I can maybe take a guess. We have 2023 Miss America here joining us, and I just found it incredible. She studied nuclear engineering at the University of Wisconsin. You also graduated with a nuclear engineering from Texas A&M, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And Grace will get into this, but when I was researching you, I just kind of did a look back at my experiences being a woman in STEM, and I'm just so excited to ask you questions and talk to you more.
Yeah. I mean, it really is exciting though. And one thing I've learned is that there's a lot more people involved in nuclear than we realize, which is so exciting to find the connections and the common ground, just like this one.
Exactly.
So Grace, if I could ask you, what is it like winning Miss America, and what does Miss America mean to you?
Oh, well, that's a very tremendous question. So, for context, I'm the 95th Miss America. One of the biggest things about the Miss America organization is that we're a scholarship organization. So, not only did I win the job of Miss America, I also won an additional $50,000 in scholarships. And that's an amount that's life-changing. You know, that opens up the option for me to go and get my master's when I wasn't really even considering doing a master's before, which I'm really incredibly thankful for. And when it comes to that moment sitting on that stage, you know, a lot happens. There's a lot of emotions. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was all like because there's a lot of emotions. But it really is an exciting opportunity because to me, being Miss America is an opportunity to be a leader for change and an advocate for change. I think the goal of everyone is to simply do better, right? To simply do good in the world. And as Miss America, I think that we have a 102-year-old history of doing good in the world behind us. And being in this position, I can continue that, but I can also continue to advocate for nuclear energy, as it's all about supporting each woman's mission that competes within the organization. So it really is a tremendous opportunity that I am forever thankful for.
Yeah, that actually leads in to my first question. And when you're saying advocate of change. So, one of the things I came across was you had done a TikTok for First Robotics. And so that's an organization that supports young students in a robotics program and they compete. And that's actually something that got me into STEM when I was younger. I went to a really, really old high school. It established in 1881, all female, and I helped start the first robotics club there. And we competed in first robotics, and it was crazy seeing your TikTok kind of telling people be confident in what you do, keep pursuing it. And so my thought with that was similarly, you mentioned that Miss America it's 100 years older than 100 years organization. But just recently, there's been a lot of change related to STEM. So I was looking at some stats, and it looks like in 2014, that was the first year that STEM scholarships were rewarded. And then in 2020, Camille Schreier was the first STEM candidate ever crowned as Miss America. And then obviously in 2023, the first ever nuclear engineer. All of that it's a lot of firsts. What does that mean to you personally to be a first? You are the first nuclear engineer who has won Miss America. And then what does that mean for what can we take away from that so that we can increase women being the first in other large organizations that have been around for so long?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So for me personally, I think it's super exciting to be the first, right? But at the end of the day, I know I'm not going to be the last. And when I look at my mentors and my role models, they were firsts in something, but they are opening up the door for me to be the first in something else, whatever it might be. And I think that's what's really exciting is I know that this isn't just, opening up doors for me. It's opening up doors for future women who are competing in the organization, but also women that are just involved in engineering overall. I personally found that as an engineering student, a lot of people would kind of assume that that was my only personality trait, right? When I would tell them I'm an engineering student or something along those lines. And it was frustrating. And I think it's important to show that people are people, our jobs are our jobs and our passions, but that's not the only thing that makes us who we are. And that's one of my favorite things to talk about with being Miss America is, yes, I'm Miss America, but I'm also a nuclear engineer. I'm also a competitive water skier, a violinist. We're all human beings. We all have interests and hobbies and joys and sadness and emotion, and that's what makes us so incredible. And I think it's really, really unique to be able to say that I'm the first in nuclear engineering to be Miss America. I know I won't be the last, but I know that it's also standing for a representation that hasn't been seen before.
That is so awesome. I love that too because you're also broadening the definition of female engineer, exactly how you said it. We're not in a box. We have all of this other great stuff. And that goes the same for any other job title, like you said. Something that I really enjoy about you and how you speak is you really speak to everyone at any level of their knowledge of nuclear. You do a lot of work with young students, actually. So, explain to us, as if we were fourth graders, your initiative that you had for this year as Miss America, your clean energy initiative. Tell us why it's important.
So basically what this initiative's goal is to assist America in its transition to a zero carbon energy portfolio, which that's a lot of big words right there, all in one short phrase, right? And what that all means is right now in America, we're using a lot of types of energy production, which when I say energy production, I'm talking about electricity, any type of things that requires being plugged in or anything along those lines. So your phone, your lights, your stoves, your washers, your dryers, all of those things that are a part of your everyday life. That power has to come from somewhere. And I'm looking to change America's power grid to be not only zero carbon, meaning there are no carbon emissions, which is assisting in the fight against climate change when you remove carbon emissions. But I'm also working towards transitioning America to a more reliable energy grid. I will fully acknowledge it. I have grown up with electricity. I don't know if I would survive without it. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I live in Wisconsin. It gets -60 here. It gets real cold. I think I could start a fire. Would I survive? There's no promises, okay? But seriously, that's something where in America, we're seeing parts of the country that are not having reliable energy anymore. We're seeing it in California. We're seeing it in Texas, where a couple of years ago, pipes froze, people lost power, people died. And that's a scary thing. So throughout this whole process, basically the end goal is to create a zero carbon and reliable energy grid for America and potentially the entire globe as well. How do I do that? I do that sort of by attacking them from both sides, is what I like to say, where I'm working at a grassroots level with young kids and nursing home residents and local politicians, literally anyone who will listen, talking about misconceptions surrounding nuclear energy and clean energy overall, and educating people about where their electricity comes from, and answering questions, but then also continuing to work to recruit people into this industry, because we need more employees. And that's not just engineers, that's not just technicians, that's not just welders. We need marketing people, we need communicators, we need awesome podcast hosts, we need literally everybody on board with this, which is what I think is so cool about nuclear. Is it truly is a team effort. It's not one person running the show. It's a group of people working together. And I think that is just like peak humanity, right? Like chef's kiss to that, which is so, so exciting. So from the grassroots level, I do a lot of that. And then I also have a lot of these things throughout this year where I was just in Vienna and Paris, right, at these international high-level conferences, speaking with ministers and secretaries and one step away from President Biden. And I'm sitting there like, oh God, I'm 21 years old. Should I really be doing this right now? But the answer is yes, because we need young people exercising their voice. We need young people carrying through and influencing policy that's being crafted today by these international level politicians today, because they're making plans for 2050. Who are going to be the people that are running those plants in 2050? It's going to be my generation and the people in high school and middle school and elementary school right now. And that's why it's been really crucial to kind of be involved in both ends of working on the grassroots level, of getting people excited about nuclear, but also making sure that at the top level where these standards are being set and construction goals are being set, that we're keeping in mind what young people have desires for. That was a really long talk, but I feel like it was a very detailed discussion there. So
that's exactly what we needed to hear. Yeah. No, it's great.
Grace, I love the thank you for that. We're so I love our firm because we're so committed to the clean energy agenda, and I love how you speak about it. And I love that you're spending so much time getting youngsters to be educated on it. Let me ask, there is, I say, a lot of misconceptions about nuclear energy as it relates to the clean energy agenda. Some folks just discount it because it's not renewable, and some folks don't consider it clean or green. We at Accenture feel very strongly that it's all of these things, and it's as I mentioned before, it's dense, it's reliable, it's affordable, it's all of those things. How do you get people to really get past some of those misconceptions about nuclear and really encourage folks to consider it more strongly as part of the overall agenda for net zero?
First of all, I think the main thing that I do is just have a real conversation with them, right? I'm not going to sit there and present them a list of facts about nuclear power and why you should support it, because you know what, we've got Google. Anybody can do that. But honestly, having a real conversation with people about what being in a nuclear power plant is like, or providing them the resource to visit a nuclear power plant or to explore nuclear technology on their own. A lot of what I do is when I talk with people is I just let them know where nuclear science exists in their everyday life. For me personally, and something that I think connects with a lot of people is, a family, or maybe you yourself have had cancer. Maybe somebody you knew made it through, maybe somebody you knew didn't. And that's a scary thing. For me personally, my dad made it through cancer twice. He's alive because of nuclear medicine. And that bridges this gap surrounding the word nuclear, because people aren't afraid of nuclear power plants. They're just afraid of nuclear, that one little word. And that's just because we have a very loaded and heavy history. We had a bad first impression on the world, I think, when it comes to nuclear science. But the reality is, the modern day, 95% of our industry is peaceful and prosperous uses of the atom, which is really, really incredible. When it comes to talking about nuclear energy specifically, just providing answers and the opportunity to ask questions is the biggest thing. I find that most people in the modern day are genuinely curious, and they just want to ask questions, which is exciting because I can tell them about my experience working for a company that owned and operated 12 different nuclear power plants across the country. I can tell them about my experience working in a fusion research lab, because if they see someone else excited about it, they're going to get excited about it too.
Excellent. Excellent. Grace, I would like to share two things about me with you.
Oh, yes.
One, my first instrument happened to be the violin.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
I wasn't very good.
I was not either for many, many years. There's a fun story behind that, but
Yeah.
what's the second thing?
And the second thing is that I am very, very passionate about net zero. And I'm also very passionate about where nuclear fits into that puzzle, because nuclear has a very unique place in producing hydrogen in the future state. And I do believe that that is going to be a key player in getting to net zero. And net zero is important to me because, you know, when we're done doing our time here on Earth, we look back and say, what did we do? You know, what did we truly change? And, you know, I was a nuclear engineer from the start, going into the Navy. That's where a lot of my skills are. That's where my professional life is. And that is an area that I can work to make the world a better place. And that affects people. And if you impact people positively, I mean, that to me is what it's all about. So that's why it's really important to me. That's why I'm passionate about it. So I would like to ask you that same question. What is it about nuclear and how nuclear leads that clean energy transition? Why is that so important to you?
So I want to kind of add on, you mentioned that when we're done with our time here on Earth, what did we do? I find it really interesting because one story I like to tell, my favorite national park is Glacier National Park. I've been there 3 times. And the reason I love it is because when I go there, it's not only, the mountains and the lakes are beautiful and stunning, and that's like right up my alley in terms of what I enjoy doing, but it's also a reminder of how almost insignificant we are as human beings on this planet. Like because we are significant in the way that, right now we are changing this planet. We're seeing that with climate change, but at the same time, I sit there and I'm like, Mother Earth is always gonna win this battle. Like, we ain't winning this one. So I think that's a really fascinating concept that you bring that up, and it's just an interesting story that, like I said, I love seeing the parts of the planet that are truly, truly remarkable, and everything is special in its own way. And I think that it really will always win. We're living on borrowed time. But I think with nuclear, right now we're facing this whole dilemma, specifically in America. It's not just a environmental issue. It's a political problem that we have where people can't agree anymore. People don't find common ground anymore. There's no compromising. And maybe I'm making a big statement here, but this is my belief and my frustration with the world is it feels like you're choosing one extreme or the other, when in the reality, I find that most people fall in the middle and are willing to compromise. I find that nuclear is one thing that people can all agree on. It's reliable, it's effective, it's zero carbon, it's affordable for Americans to purchase once those power plants are built. It's something that people are working together to do the best they can. And that's where, I come back to that message of the goal is to just do better. And I find that nuclear is one of those forms of energy that really fits that criteria in terms of doing better, in terms of serving our planet, but also doing the best in terms of humanity. And I think that's something that's really incredible and a beautiful thing to see.
Absolutely. And serving humanity, making a better place for our future, for our children, for our families. That's what it's all about. So, Grace, thank you so much for joining us here and having this discussion around nuclear and green energy and just, telling us about yourself and it's been amazing. Scott, would you like to say anything?
I just want to reiterate your passion around STEM, your passion around nuclear energy, the clean energy transition is inspiring. And as a personal note, the fact that you love national parks, which is near and dear to my heart, I love it. I can't think of a better ambassador for STEM and a better ambassador for nuclear energy. So thank you so much for spending time with us.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it a ton.
Megan?
Yeah, same here, Grace. Again, just hearing your story really helped me reflect on my experience. I'm sure you do the same for so many women out there. And you said it here, and you probably say it everywhere. You will not be the last, and I absolutely believe that. Especially how you reach out to the community, all the work that you've done. It's been a really awesome year. It seems that you've had, and yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And what you guys do is really tremendous. And I hope you know that as well.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, all right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We will catch you in the next one. Take care. All right.
Bye-bye.